r/AskReddit by Reddit. Rich people of Reddit who married someone significantly poorer. What surprised you about their previous way of life? Credit cards were avoided. For me growing up, we were encouraged to get a credit card in our name and use it as much as possible. In order to build credit, there was always money to pay it off each month, so it made sense to 1. Build credit and 2. Collect airline miles, or whatever the reward was back in the day. When we got together, she always used cash or a debit card. She had a credit card for emergencies and avoided using it otherwise. It took a long time to get her over her aversion/skepticism. We were fortunate to have 2 good paying jobs, though it also taught me a healthy appreciation for what it means to have a financial cushion. The logic of buying things on credit that you could buy with cash in order to build a credit score is pretty weird when you think about it. You're basically taking out a loan that you don't need to show you're responsible with money. I dated a 1%er briefly. She was surprised I willingly went inside fast food restaurants. Edit. Since people are saying 1% is still a huge range in income, I just looked up. Her daddy pulls in $10 million a year. I'm not dating her, but she's a good friend of mine, and her parents are definitely 1%. I told her I had to work this summer to save up for a graduation trip, and that money was gonna be tight for the next year, but I'd love to go on a safari after graduation if I managed to save enough. Mind you, I'm solidly upper middle class. Her parents paid for it just because I'd helped her move into her apartment. It's not like that's what friends are for or anything. It's hard to see it this way, but paying for your trip was not a hardship for them. It was a small blip that was a nice thing to do for a friend. Just like helping your friend move was a blip for you. Edit. Thanks for the silver. A blip for you, I hope. I can answer this one. I did not grow up rich by any means, but I would say my family was upper middle class. My husband was born in Nicaragua and eventually moved to Texas, where his mother barely scraped by supporting him and his brother. Some of the things that surprised me. 1. He never eats snacks. Ever. They didn't have food in their kitchen, and he would go hungry sometimes. He said once they had an egg in the kitchen, and he scrambled it and split it with his brother while his mom hungrily looked on. Now as an adult he doesn't understand snacking. If we eat a banana he thinks that is our next meal. 2. He is very impressed with smaller things in life. He had one toy as a kid, truck, and now anything I get him, he thinks is the most amazing thing in the world. He saves everything. 3. He is the hardest worker I know. He never wants to be where he was. 4. He is the most grateful, optimistic person I know. We've been having some problems, family drama, trying to sell our house, work stuff, etc. He is not afflicted by any of it. He is cool as a cucumber. He always says, "Did you eat today? Do you have a place to sleep? Does someone love you? Then you are better than most people." I daily love him. He makes me see the world in a different, better way. You know what? I think I love him too. My experience is from the opposite perspective. I was the poor one. It absolutely floored me how my wife acts when something broke, like a car, appliances, clothes, etc. As a child living below the poverty line, replacing a tire or other necessities was a disaster, requiring tricky trade-offs in the budget, or just plain acceptance of just how boned you were. When my wife's phone broke, I went into full panic mode, while she shrugged and said, "We can just a new one this afternoon." And then we did. Edit. Wow, I have received a lot of responses on this. By far my most upvoted comment. You guys made my day. Thank you. I have seen a few repair it comments. Like many of you, I'm also a Picasso/MacGyver of the duct tape and trash bag world. This skill helped me break into it. Sadly, the phone was beyond repair. Trust me, if I could have fixed it, I would have. And thank you for the silver. Last edit. Y'all are giving me too many medals. I'm very flattered, but this is going to spoil me. I'm from the poorer family, not super poor, but my in-laws have a stupid amount of money, so by comparison I'm very poor, but I think I can answer for her. We have 2 young kids, and my wife was shocked when I said we should look for clothes and toys for them at local flea markets and garage sales. The idea never occurred to her that we could save money by getting some gently used items. She had never even been to a garage sale in her life. She has grown to love them and now questions whether it is worth it to buy any item new or not before running to Amazon or a store. Her parents think it's disgusting we make our kids wear clothes that another child had before, but they don't pay my bills. I came from a relatively wealthy family, new money. My dad started his own business and grew up poor, and my wife came from a lower income blue collar family. We got married out of college and neither made much money in the beginning. My biggest surprise was how she wanted to spend money. She was shocked when my mom bought her $100+ pair of jeans for a birthday. She couldn't wrap her mind around spending that much on jeans. But she wanted a motorcycle for me, which I don't ride in the first place. And then a new furniture set. And then a new bed. And then a new car. She wasn't concerned about savings or retirement. And she never wanted my parents' money for any of it. We are both way too proud of that. It took a long time for her to come around to having an emergency savings account, focusing on debt, and not needing the other stuff. She eventually realized that her parents wouldn't be in such a terrible situation because their spending habits are horrible. She still has it come out sometimes though. We recently paid off my car and she immediately thought I should get a new car. It doesn't directly relate to the amount of money they had, I don't think, but their place was always filthy. I mean, dog poop everywhere. My SO lived with his mom sometimes, but would rotate between her and his father and both places were this way. Dishes piled up, floors were grimy, the place or places stunk of dog pee and cigarette smoke. One time, I used the bathroom at one of his parents' places and had to spread my feet while sitting on the toilet to avoid stepping in period blood. I mean, it was so disgusting. My SO was baffled when, after we first got married and moved in with each other, every day he would come home to a, generally, I'm not perfect, spotless home. Now, on the flip side, I once dated a guy whose stepfather was a lawyer, so they lived a lavish lifestyle. The only thing that he was surprised about when it came to my lifestyle was that I did not eat pizza with knife, fork, and a glass of wine. Lol. My wife earned many times more than I did when I was a high school teacher back when we were dating. She sometimes would drive my 10 years old primer black, stick shift Honda Civic that my cousin lent me until I could buy another car. She was blown away how aggressively mean people are to you when you drive an ugly old car. When she got out of the car the spell lifted. I got a lot of respect from her for that. She seemed to think I was a saint for not turning sour over it. I was constantly getting pulled over by cops and let go, targeted by road rage, and also pedestrians felt too comfortable engaging with me. I drive a newer Honda, 1 year old, now and it is so different. I drive the same, but probably drive a bit more aggressively now that I can't hear the wind roaring by when I'm going over 40 miles per hour. I haven't been pulled over and haven't had a negative interaction on the road in a long time. Also, my wife now enjoys trading cars with me. I'm from the poor family. For my first car purchase, I went to a dealership and picked out a Honda Civic, and they proceeded to slap on something like a 10% finance rate on that sucker. I saw nothing wrong with it. I was young. I had no idea the typical finance rates, and I had brought my parents with me. Surely they would have raised a red flag if it had been a bad deal. No, I quickly realized later they had absolutely no financial literacy. One of the reasons we were poor, but certainly not the only one. Also, I could afford the monthly payments, and that's what really matters, right? I was about a year into it before I did some research, wised up, and paid that thing off as soon as possible. Drove it for nearly 10 years, ended up being a great car, but I can absolutely understand why people end up in these terrible underwater loans with rates that make your head spin. That was me, and I consider myself a smart person, but financial literacy is a whole separate thing from being smart. A lot of people have this idea that if you're rich, you're automatically smart, and if you make poor financial decisions, you're dumb. Well, both my husband and I make 6 figures now, and I like pulling out this little nugget of info when people start cracking on people making bad decisions and they deserve to be miserable etc. I was like, that was me once. Ironically, once I started making money, I had the ability to take the time to do research and make better decisions because things weren't done at the last second emergency. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.